Okay, pre-calculus, here is your 5-minute cosine curve video as promised. Make sure you take some notes on this and come to class tomorrow ready to talk about the cosine curve, okay? So here we go. Here is the cosine curve. If you go around the unit circle and we talk about the x values, because cosine deals with x, okay? Notice I've got my scale all ready to go here. The cosine of 0 is a value of 1 if you look on your unit circle. Then as we move around, the cosine of pi over 2, or 90 degrees, is a value of 0. All right? So we have cosine of 0 is 1. The cosine of pi over 2 is 0. The cosine of pi is negative 1. The cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. And the cosine of 2 pi is 1. So the cosine curve, one cycle of the cosine curve looks like this. It looks very, very close to the sine curve. It's just moved over. Remember, sine curve looked like this. These were our 5 dots for the sine curve in red here. And our cosine curve is just moved over a little bit. So I'll erase that one because we're not talking about sine right now. We're just talking about cosine, okay? So, getting back to our cosine, the amplitude is still a value of 1. It's the highest point from the mid-center and the lowest point, right? So from the midline here, the highest and lowest point is a value of 1. The period is still a period of 2 pi because that's how long it takes to go one full cycle. The domain, of course, is still all real numbers because this can keep going around and around and around the circle. The range is just like the sine curve. It's stuck between -1 and 1. That's our lowest value and our highest value. All right. The x-intercepts are, notice you'll have pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and then the next one will be 5 pi over 2. So we say the intercepts are odd multiples of pi over 2. And the symmetry with this one, the symmetry, since the cosine function is odd, that's odd, it means that it's symmetric with the y-axis. So what does that mean? That means, okay, so if I kept going with this, it would look like that on the other side. And that means that if we could actually fold this cosine curve over the y-axis, you can fold it and cut it directly in half. You can fold it, and the curve would match up on either side, okay? So there we go. Amplitude, period, domain, range, x-intercepts, and symmetry. So the 5 key points that we have to keep in mind are 0, 1, pi over 2, 0, pi -1, 3 pi over 2, 0, and 2 pi, 1. So this is the cycle, one full period of our cosine curve. All right, let's do one example together. We're going to graph -3 cosine of 2x. Okay, so let's talk about what these things do, right? The -3, of course, is going to be the amplitude with the reflection. So just like it was for sine. And then the 2 is going to be our period. So we're going to do 2 pi divided by 2 gives us a period of pi. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and first draw a cosine curve. Remember, it goes up, pi over 2, 0, pi down here, 3 pi over 2, 0 again, and finally 2 pi up like this. So here is one full period of the cosine curve. Next, we're going to do a period of pi. So we're going to shrink that. We're going to start here, okay, and we're going to end at a period of pi. So I'll use blue for this one. So we want to change that entire curve to go as a distance of pi because our period is pi. So starting up at 1, ending up at 1, all right? Halfway between, I'm at my lowest point. Quarter of the way is at 0. 3/4 of the way, I'm at 0. So now I have taken that curve and I have shrunken it down to a period of pi. Last thing I have to do is do a reflection and an amplitude of 3. So for the blue one, okay, this is going to go down to a 1, and then we're going to extend the amplitude to a period of 3 units. This one stays here, reflect up, and then amplitude 3 stays here, reflect down, amplitude 3. So my final graph would look like this. My amplitude now is a 3 units from there to there, and I have a reflection, and this is what we need to be able to do. It's exactly like it was for the sine, except we just start our function up, and then 0, down, 0, and then up again. Okay? We'll practice more tomorrow. There you go, 4 minutes, 45 seconds.